Oh, it's
Yeah.
live.
Yep. Hello.
Hello,
Welcome.
welcome to DevKami number
Oh,
21. I was
Yeah.
I was saying between 21 or 21.
Yeah. 21, and today is Valentine's Day,
Yes.
and our topic for today is date.
Yes. So unfortunately for you guys, you'll be hearing a bunch of news talking about dates.
Yeah.
I like the one they sell in Pasar Malam. Oh wait, wrong date.
So let's continue with our usual. We're gonna talk about what is
Yeah.
going to happen next week. So what do we have?
So Tristan, I think you know more.
Yep.
yeah, I'm filling in the stuff on devkami.com/meetups. There
Yeah.
are a lot. Actually, I've already had a few things. The nearest one will be
The
the
DevOps
DevOps
meetups.
Malaysia. Yeah,
Yep.
DevOps is happening at the Mind Valley on 19th
Yep.
Cool.
of February. That's the nearest one.
Then we have a lot happening next Saturday.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, at the
So
same time.
at the same time we had a lot of events. So
we
we
have three
have a React
events.
we had a React workshop happening at
SOLS 24/7.
okay, where is that? Really?
I don't know what SOLS means.
Okay, so we'll figure the map later. Then we have a Woman Who Code event, a Python
We
105.
have two women who could events on that day.
Yeah. So let's start with the Python
Yeah.
workshop.
Yeah.
You can join the Python workshop. They already did a few workshops on Python for a while. So
Mhm.
I'm still adjusting the best position. I didn't prepare today, sorry. So now they already did 105, one on advanced topic object orientation and all that. Oh crap! I just remember I just opened up the DevKami page.
Yeah. So, what are
Then
you talking about now? The Python one, right? I haven't
yeah,
gone to the
correct.
Python one yet. I
Then
just finished.
finally we have speaking up in tech.
Mhm.
This is an invitation only event. We go to our web page, go to event page, ask for invitation to go in. This will be about how to speak, as in public speaking, and how to convince your boss to adopt the tools you want and whatever. And I think it's really important and interesting because uh, for us nerds, we love to sell our tools first and everything without worrying about presentation and all that. This will actually a place, and also we hope this also co-organized by NGMI, the Angular conference in Malaysia, and so this is part of their speaker training.
Hmm. They're having a conference, right?
Yeah, they're having a conference. We'll talk about that later. So this is a treat event on 23rd on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one is Junior Dev Talk and Share on 26th February and Common Ground Bukit Bintang.
So it's the
So
first event for Junior Dev Malaysia.
correct. And if you're a senior citizen, you can also join. But no, just join, share your knowledge, share your experience as a junior developer. Because I believe even all of us here started as a junior, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
What? You started as a senior?
no,
Swimming
I'm
came
always a
into the
junior.
world.
I'm
Huh?
always a junior.
Yeah, I never
Swimming came
really
into
grew
the
up.
world fully
Speaking
formed.
of which, about community,
Uh-huh.
the planning for Angular Malaysia conference
Yep.
and also Python conference Malaysia for 2019 is just started.
Oh, they already
So
announced the PyCon Malaysia.
they didn't announce it, but I
Yeah,
get
they
pings.
we're
Yeah,
going to happen. The organizing team is start working
yeah.
and might be behind the scene this year. I mean, always behind the scene every year, but as in I'm toning down my organizing this year. But then I've been saying that for the last three 3 years. So
Also, if you guys notice,
yeah.
before we start with our topic, also if you notice, we have a new logo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, we
So
do.
we're done with
yeah,
our event. So let's
yeah,
thank Wendy for
yeah.
our logo. So it's a tapir, as you can
Yeah.
see. Malayan tapir is an endangered species in
Yeah.
Malaysia.
It's very underrated, but
Yes.
it's an awesome animal.
Correct. And also the Scotland Zoo had a baby tapir born, and it's now named Megat, as in a Malaysian name. So just so you know.
I don't know how you know about this.
Yeah. So I think tapir is a very worthy symbol for us because one, we are sloppy. It's very Southeast Asian. Tapir is common in Southeast Asia, except Philippines. I'm sorry, Tristan. It's an endangered species. It's a very so I think it's represent us really well as a developer community. And thanks, Wendy, to actually help us create a logo.
Yeah.
And with this, we can find us on Spotify now, and we're still waiting approval for Apple, right?
Yeah.
And Tristan did a good job in converting our videos from YouTube
Yep.
to MP3. Yep.
So
a lot of claps to everyone.
Yeah. So thanks for your support. If you're sick of following us on YouTube, you can you can find us on Spotify, DevKami. All right. Okay. So what next?
We're gonna go back to our topic, which is date or dating.
ISO 8601.
Yeah. I think I expected bit, and this is also the episode that most of it did research for.
Yeah.
Because apparently date is not easy.
No.
Dating is not easy.
Yeah, dating is never easy. So
correct.
Yeah, who wants to start?
Okay, so here's an interesting question I'm gonna ask you guys. What's the birthday of Isaac Newton?
I don't know. Tell me.
So Isaac Newton, it is now believed that Isaac Newton is born during Christmas, right? But that's not exactly true. Nobody really knows, and here's why. During the time of Isaac Newton, there's actually a conversion of calendar from Gregorian to the Julian calendar, the modern calendar that we have now.
Yeah. What are the difference between Gregorian and Julian for the uninitiated?
Darn.
And before we get too advanced, what is the calendar system that we are using right now?
I believe we are Julian, right? Yeah, we are
yeah.
Yep, we are actually the Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is the difference?
Man, do you guys know?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm still trying to update our meetups section. So
okay, so
a
basically,
lot of dates though. There's a lot of international dates here with time zone 0. So maybe that.
Yeah, but let's forget about time zone for now. Time zone is another story altogether.
Oh, I actually have something about time zone afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some very interesting thing happening. It's one of my favorite topic about time zone, but let's not go to there. So the Gregorian calendar, the difference is that actually there's actually if you look at Wikipedia, there's actually a mathematical difference. So as a result, there is actually increase of days every 4 years every 3 days by 3 days every 4 centuries. So if you look at a calendar, every 300 years or so, there will be increasing 200 plus years or so, it will increase 1 day.
And Gregorian calendar is actually the calendar system that we are using right now.
Correct.
Could they know why they have to change it?
Tradition. I blame the Roman. This one, I don't blame the British. I blame the Roman.
Do you know the difference between the Julian and the Gregorian?
I don't know. Tell me.
I don't know.
So
fun fact.
I lost track. But what happened is this. The Gregorian calendar is okay. I quote this from Wikipedia. Okay. So it's actually used around the world. It's named after Pope Gregory the 13th, which introduced it in 1582. And it spaces the leap year to make the year 365 days and 24.2425 days long. So which is why every 4 years you get a leap year. So I think that's
Okay,
that.
so there is that leap year
Yep,
because the revolution of the Earth around the sun is not exactly divisible by 24 hours.
correct.
So,
And this is interesting part because the Gregorian calendar is what we call a solar calendar. If
mhm,
we look at Chinese, we are
lunar,
using a lunar calendar. Actually, I
yeah.
believe Muslims also New Year using which is why the tradition for Hari Raya require them to look at the moon.
Mm-hmm. It's
Uh,
it's uh
it's
it's
not really important because the maths for that is pretty established, but they still do it as a tradition.
well, it's also a lot like there's less of how do you say changes like all of these mathematics. So the advantage of the solar is that the same date is the same date
Correct.
every year, right? Like
Yep.
it falls on the same day because it's on the same position around the sun. The
Hmm.
advantage of the lunar calendar is that when the spring comes, it's the same, generally the same season,
Yep.
right? It's like, for example, it's not always so you have your solstices, which are on the same date, but spring might not come at the same season, for example, because
Yep.
it changes depending on how the Earth moves.
Right.
So that's the reason why there's the Gregorian and the Julian is because Julian did not reflect the that leap year thingy. So
Correct.
Gregorian was a lot more accurate, and so they had to switch because um, they were starting to celebrate the new year, but it's harvest time, or is it the other way around?
Right.
Similar, I think this is why they call it the April Fools when they said, "Okay, we're going to start celebrating January in January or the
Yep.
new year in January instead of around April."
Yes. Yeah. And that is according to Wikipedia. So that's it. What does it matter for? What does it matter for us? The short answer is bank users, believe or not, bank actually uses Julian calendar, I believe.
Why do they use that?
It's tradition, yeah, because okay, when I work in the bank, what happened is there's a
Really?
year and day, time of days. It's a tradition that they just keep using. I remember I wrote a rec script that converted. It's on a blog which I wrote over 10 years ago. Blog.
Really? Are you sure about that? That's a big thing.
Okay. Let's see. Rex. Yep. So what happened is the bank still use Julian calendar. I do not know the story behind it. It is something that we use lah at that time. So what happened is we need to do the on trend. Uh, it's just something that I use. I do not know the background behind it. So I actually wrote a rec script. Uh, Rec script. I won't post the link.
I
To give it
actually
over
cannot
time.
find anything online about using
Banks
Julian.
using
Yeah.
Julian.
Yeah, it's hard to find. It's something internal that I never figure out why they don't use it. But one of the reason I can imagine is because it's just like the format that we use in the bank is 3 days and the year. So it's DDDD slash YYY. So I suppose the real reason is because it's just easier to count.
The
So
one very funny story that I heard is because the Roman Empire, including the Eastern one, which is
yeah,
normally known as Byzantine
yep,
Empire, they lasted for so long
yep,
that the date started to drift.
yes,
So then they realized that they actually need a proper dating system for like to match up the seasons like Tristan try to say like try to match up the dates of the
Hmm.
year.
hmm. So
So that
which
is
is why
predictable.
Yep.
Julian like to say that there's no dark age, just that we messed up the date, we lost a few hundred years. But
Fun fact: we actually I'll cover that later when we talk about time zones.
But generally when we do software development, we don't really care about something that's a few hundred years ago, which is why in fact, most of us, unless we actually build app for history, we're only concerned about year zero of the Unix timestamp, a Unix time. So that which is like January 1st, 1970.
And we have the apocalypse coming soon.
Yes,
2030.
2038, right?
Yeah.
No, it's 2030. Wait.
2030.
What are you talking about? Yeah, so it's 2038, the 2038 problem. It's the end of the Unix
2038,
time.
Which, well, we can always switch it to 64-bit.
Yeah.
Also,
I guess found something. Turns out that, as I say, Julian calendar is using COBOL, so that's that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Speaking of COBOL, does COBOL have 64-bit integers?
Yes. They have two because of the Y2K conversion.
Okay. So we're ready. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because I remember that a lot of banks are still using COBOL, and the Y2K would have had that conversion.
Yeah. I believe Y2K will at least convert it to 32-bit, but I think they're going to future-proof it because it's really not that long. It's really not that long, and the capability of hardware is big enough that there is no harm. Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the real reason why we don't have this problem on Unix, Y2K problem on Unix, because Unix is on a bigger set of number. I don't remember how many bit. So they just don't bother until very much later. But most of it is like they don't use nowadays we just store the Unix time as 64-bit number, I believe.
Yeah, in a lot of the system it is stored as a 64-bit unsigned integer.
So unless you're using ancient version of Unix, which actually happened like HPUX and all that, you probably don't have to worry. Linux is fine, I believe. I don't have evidence, by the way. So on for software development, the most important one is we only care about Unix, and it is on UTC 1970 January the 1st, which is just after Unix is created, and we just use that ever since.
Yeah, we call it Unix epoch.
Correct.
So each number of that Unix timestamp is 1 millisecond.
It's a second, actually.
A second.
It's 1 second.
But Java and JavaScript, they use millisecond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Python, if you import time module, time.time, return second dot then a milliseconds.
It's a float, right?
It's a float. But the number is actually a second, the point is the milliseconds and all that. So we are ready. We're more than ready for it. Then from there, then we start worry about time zone conversion.
Yeah.
So time zone conversion is a very interesting topic because let's not talk about time zone conversion. Most of us are already on Unix time, so it's fine. I believe is Windows or Unix time.
Windows is syncs up with an NTP server.
Yeah, I think the NTP server uses that, right?
Yeah,
I believe.
Hopefully, I don't know. I think the NTP server does use Unix time.
Yeah.
So, but I think Windows is strange because it doesn't use. So I don't think it uses Unix time because I have this problem when you dual boot with Windows.
Yeah.
It changes the BIOS time to the current time, which is like, and so you go back to Linux, which is using proper time plus the time zone, and so now you're shifted,
right?
Like because the BIOS time is wrong or like set to Windows time.
So and that's actually So now on Unix things are relatively easy, right? But not actually true because our calendar is not Unix epoch, right? We actually uses Julian time, right? Which means we have to do conversion.
Gregorian.
Yeah, Gregorian.
Sorry, we are using Gregorian time, so we have to do conversion, right?
Yep.
Thankfully, seconds easy only if you live in UTC. only live on UTC. I think I might override Chileong in some of the time zone story, but
Yep. I see whether you get my story.
Do you know one of the last? Okay, I do not know the actual last time a time zone got changed, but
Well, you have the daylight saving.
okay, daylight saving is not there. Thankfully, make sure they have that. I thought about something local for now.
When Malaysia was formed, like the all the states were formed, did you
Yeah.
originally have the same time zone? Because like KL is in a very strange time zone.
We
You're
used
actually
to.
not.
Okay, I'm going to that. Used to be the Malaysia, Sabah Sarawak have their own time zone.
Yep.
Then the Peninsula have their own time zone.
Oh, so
right?
that was before, because right now it's the same.
No, wait. There is no. It actually happened after the independence, after the 60s. It's only after the 80s, 1984 or so. 80s.
No, 80. The major point of the change is 1981, and
Yeah,
that is
81.
actually a pop quiz. Do you
Yes.
know? It's actually a very fun question.
Yes.
On the 31st of December, year 1981, what is the minute before 12 a.m. before going to the 1st of January 1982?
So
I
you
don't know.
normally it's 23:59, right?
Yeah, 23:59, but it's actually that on that day it's actually the day where we switch officially from 7:30
Plus 7 GMT plus 7.
GMT 7:30 to +8.
Yeah.
So it's actually jump half an hour.
Yes.
Oh,
So the minute before the midnight is actually it's actually 11:29
Yes.
p.m.
And then
So
it jumps to the next day
yeah,
immediately.
it jumps to the next day. Yep.
Correct.
You
So-
have like your
yeah.
little dark ages, like
So-
the
yeah.
lost century.
Yeah. So if you have a system that deals with time before 1981,
Yeah.
before 1982, you have to do this kind of conversion. So date is something that is also not a constant, which we often overlook as something that doesn't change, but it's actually something that is pretty much influenced by political issues. Yeah.
There's actually a lot of talk, especially on the Java mailing lists, when a government decides to change time zones or to change daylight savings,
Yeah.
or a new government is formed or a new country is formed, then there's a mad rush to update the time zone data. So if you're using Linux again, and you will have this package called TZ data.
Yep.
And then sometimes when you do your app update or whatever, or like I don't know what in Fedora what you use, Yum upgrade, whatever, you update your packages, you'll see
Yes.
TZ data being updated sometimes. And actually, if you see TZ data, you should like try and see what the change was, because you might be surprised. What are the political changes happening in the rest of the world?
Yeah, not too long ago, is the newest country in the world is South Sudan, which actually split from Sudan, which lead to a creation of a new country in the TZ file. Just before that is the creation of Timor-Leste.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the TZ data file is actually a good, like someone should make this visualization, like all the changes on TZ data,
Yep.
and like visualize how things have been changing in a political region in terms of time zones.
so you
right?
also need the boundary and all that. But yeah, it's a
But
good
you don't
topic
need
that
the
we should work
boundary.
on.
Like, yeah.
So
That's interesting. So you'd think that dates are easy, just
No.
like names are easy. You think that it's just a name.
No.
And then you'll have like the name by Prince, which is like the Ankh symbol. Like how do you even encode that? And then you'll have people like you think that people have a first name and a last name,
Yep.
and then you come across Chinese people with the last name is in front of the first name,
Correct.
and so all of these things. So
Yep.
it's the same as names. Dates are also very difficult.
Correct. So it's especially bad if you're in Japan. The emperor of Japan is abdicating soon. And what happened is, in Japanese time, the date is the year of emperor in power. Okay, it turns out that this emperor is on the seat of power since World War II. This is before computers. This is before computers exist.
Do they
right?
use that in their system?
Yes, there is actually a problem because the switchover of emperors in Japan are not tested in the computer system.
Yeah, I'm looking it up on Wikipedia.
So because
It's
this
down.
emperor is in power before the age of computers, so Japan, a change of calendar system seen on the computers ever. Know what I mean? So, and it's actually a big deal.
So let me look up the news. If there's anything, we can put it in the show
Apparently,
notes.
the current era in Japan is the Heisei. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah.
Started on 8th of January 1989, the day after the death of the Emperor Hirohito, where
Yeah.
his son Akihito was crowned.
So I think there's a problem of changing calendar date.
Oh, yep. They call it the Japan's millennium bug. Yeah, it's a Y2K for Japanese.
Yes. So I'm pretty Japanese. Actually, disclaimer: we had a project in Japan that would be interesting. So, but that's it. In Japan, there will be a big one coming soon.
Yeah.
I should
Also
talk
pop quiz. Also pop quiz.
Yes. Quiz.
Yeah. It's actually not a pop quiz. Actually, a fun fact.
Yeah.
Do you know? Satellites are also used as an atomic clock.
Yes.
So your satellite is also your timekeeper.
Yes.
Your most accurate timekeeper.
So you know why they need a? Do you know why they need atomic clock?
Yep, indulge it.
It's time drift. So the GPS system is actually okay. So how does triangulation works?
You need 3 points.
Correct.
But GPS works with 4 points, right? Because you have your
more points better. 3 point is minimum. 3 point is minimum. More point is better, right?
So basically, you draw circles. So in a 2-dimensional plane, in order for you to pinpoint a particular point, you need 3 circles, right? Because with 2 circles, you have like the north and the south, or like with the top or the bottom part. You don't know which one. You need a 3rd circle to pinpoint the same area. But with a 3-dimensional space, you need 4 circles basically.
Okay, now question: if there's no physical ruler between satellite, how do they find distance?
Time.
Speed of light.
Yeah.
Speed of light
divided by time, right? So it's very fast on the very short distance. They need an atomic clock that is sensitive enough.
Yeah. So you have the speed of light, which is a constant.
Yeah.
And so if you know that the time it took for a signal to come from the satellite to your location, then you divide it by the speed of light. Then you know
distance, right?
The distance, right? Yeah.
Okay, good. So, and that's how GPS work. Now, here's another extra thing. Because the time is so sensitive on the GPS system, and a satellite is very fast, what law of physics do they use to actually making sure that the time are adjusted properly?
I don't know.
The relativity. So the Einstein theory of relativity.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about this.
So what happens?
Because you're very far from the Earth and you're speeding up very fast.
Yes, a satellite is very fast, meaning that so they can reach a point multiple times in a day, right? In a day. So which is why you look at the Internet Space Station, they can go a space. The video is actually very fast. So because they are so fast and the time is relative, so what happens is there's a time drift. But the time drift is still very small using our clock. We won't see sudden slowdown in time. But GPS system had an atomic clock. So it's sensitive enough to find the difference. By taking account into Einstein relativity, they actually adjust the time to make sure the time don't go too far and add more accuracy to our GPS system.
Is
So
that
yeah,
why sometimes some drivers just fall off a bridge or something?
no,
Because
that is really silly because people do not have common sense.
like suddenly there's a like the atomic clock like
Yeah,
was the
but whether the
calculations
internal
was wrong or
programming of
something.
a certain sense of time and
Yeah.
like spatial and time
yeah.
get screwed up.
Actually, do you know what's the signal being sent by the GPS satellite?
No idea. I think
I know a
Swimming
few
must know about this.
Yeah, it's a radio signal. I don't remember the frequency. You can actually hack it using
It's
SDR device.
yeah, but it's actually just the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
the satellite ID basically like which satellite it is and the time
yeah,
that's there. And then if you connect to like four of those satellites, then you
yeah.
have your circles thing,
Correct.
and then it's your phone or your GPS device that creates those math
Yes.
thing.
The GPS satellite doesn't know that many things about you.
I actually
Yeah,
put
it
some
doesn't
of
know where
the
you are actually.
I
The
actually put
satellite
some of
does
the
not know where you are.
It's a beacon.
I actually put some of the articles on the chat as well while we
Yeah.
speak for those so they can digest about it
Yeah.
and for
Oh, do
me as well.
we have people actually asking questions?
We have Ala Kutupak asks about how do they calculate leap years for calendar? How do they came up with the numbers
Uh,
So yeah,
for like
this
Gregorian and stuff?
the short answer
Nowadays we
is
have
astronomy. The long answer is I don't know.
yeah, no, that's why they had that change, right?
Yeah.
Because they were on the Julian calendar before, and then they realized it's not the same date
Yes.
last year or like 200 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it was cold at this time. Now
Yeah.
it's summertime, and it's like it was December and it was cold, and now it's hot. It's still December, and then they realized because the revolution of the Earth around the sun is actually one day.
Yes.
Sorry, 25%. Like how do you say it? A quarter of a day extra, and so it was drifting, and so the Gregorian calendar fixed that because they're actually good mathematicians over there. Like the Muslim astronomers, especially because they had to do all of these because they're using the lunar calendar, right? And they're very very good with the astronomy calculations. So they know that this particular drift is happening, and so the people at that time said enough is enough. Let's establish that um, there are 365 days in a year plus 0.24 or something. And so in order for people not to think about this 0.24, so just every 4 years, which is like one fourth, right? You add another day, which is the leap year. But because of it's not 0.25, but 0.245 something something, so you still need to fix that extra drift. That's why you only have leap years um, for centuries that are not divisible by four.
Mhm.
I think,
okay
right? Like
century.
2000 is not a leap year, or is
Okay.
it the other way around? Like eight, I forgot. So I'll take a look. My DNS is not working, so I can't actually go to Wikipedia or to Google. But you might want to verify it. But there's this extra rule. So every 4 years is a leap year, except when the year is divisible by four. I think that was the rule.
Mhm.
So that fixes the extra point. And there's
And
another rule
okay.
though, which does probably won't take effect until like 10,000 years in the future, where it corrects like the further decimal places. Like every 10,000 whatever years, you have
Yeah.
to add another day or whatever.
Yeah, but nowadays for the standard calendar, we just have a adjustment in the atomic clock,
Mhm.
like which we call the leap second.
Mhm.
Well, Google does have a different take on it, like the smeared second. They don't have a leap second. They
Uh-huh.
just add like just extra little bit to the millisecond So it takes a bit longer. So the whole second takes slightly longer than a normal millisecond. So that's how they try to fix it. It's controversial because it does not sync up with atomic clocks.
Yeah.
But apparently, it's easier for computer systems because they don't have to care anymore about these leap years. They just count, like keep on counting,
Mhm.
which is something that the Unix time actually fixes quite nicely because the Unix time does not care about leap years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
they just
just
count in
adds
seconds.
seconds over and over.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And
you have to take in account if say from that you can see like if you're going to manage certain time for when is the last time we had a leap second adjustment. Let me check. It was a few years ago, 2000s. We have we had it on 2016. So your time actually need to be adjusted to that as well. So similar to when we first changed our time zone to UTC 8. So you need to count that as part of the offset. So storing date is not actually an easy task.
yes.
We can just use Unix time.
Yeah. Then we
And
do a conversion. Yeah.
then we can just convert it to whatever.
Yeah.
We just need
But
to remember the rules of conversion.
yeah, if you use a standard Unix time on UTC, now you're going to have problem telling people when to go to meeting. So yes, everybody will look at the same number, right?
Yeah.
Now somebody had if you happen to have meeting globally, like remote working, then somebody had to wake up at when the sun didn't rise yet. Know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that happened to me every day.
But next time have some very cool idea inside. Then you have time zones.
So well, yeah, those are time zones. Do you know about other types of dating? So time zones are like very small era. Well,
Yeah,
we
but
talked about eras, right?
yes,
About
but you have some interesting situation like China.
mm-hmm.
The whole China is UTC plus 8.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Same as India, right? India, the whole of India has the same time zone.
Correct. But in the US, it's split out like Eastern time and all that
Yeah,
for
they
a
have
reason.
3 or 4, I
Yeah,
Yeah,
think,
and they have
plus Alaska
daylight
and
saving as
Hawaii.
well.
correct. Let's not. Okay, so yeah, so time zone in theory is this, but it's not always correct, which is why Thailand is like
Thailand is 7 plus 7.
yes, so it's 1 hour ahead, but we are like 8, so it's like 1 hour
Yeah, it's so
ahead.
strange, right? It's the same vertical longitude. Is it the
Yes,
longitude?
correct. But Taiwan also UTC plus 8, right?
Mm-hmm. Philippines is also UTC plus 8.
So can you imagine that I was in Taiwan? I was in Taiwan one day, right? I opened a window and the sun was like halfway up the sky. I thought I was late for the meeting. It's a conference. Turns out that it's only 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's very strange when I first got to Malaysia because we
Yes,
have a UTC plus 8 in the Philippines, right? So when you wake up at around 6, then it's
yes,
already light.
yes.
When I got here, like it's 6 and it's like is it like 5
That's
p.m.?
why
Like
most of us
there's
wake
no
up
sun.
late.
Yes.
Like it only starts getting hot like at 7. Like what is happening here?
So when I was in Myanmar, which is roughly around I believe UTC 8 or 7:30 or so. So when I look at them, it makes so much sense because around 6 a.m. the sun just barely rise,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where then when I look outside where they actually start planting rice and all that,
Yeah.
it makes so much sense.
Yes, and 12 noon is where the sun is actually at the highest
Yes,
part.
correct.
You don't have a shadow because it's like directly on top of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
In
Because we are
here
right
in Malaysia, it's
in the
like
middle of our equator.
yeah. I think
So
Malaysia it's at 1 p.m., right?
yeah,
Where there's the
1
sun is
p.m.
directly
And we actually had shorter daytime as a result and all that. But yes,
well, the advantage there is that your malls actually close later because in the Philippines our malls close at 9.
yeah.
Here
More
it's 10.
business closing in Malaysia is weird because even in Singapore, you don't get a lot of shop open
Mhm.
after 9. In Malaysia, there's plenty of shopping mall closed at 9:30 or 9:45 or so.
Yeah, the spirit is pretty much like standardized at 10, but I don't know who actually came up with that.
Yeah, but if you look at other places, it's not common at all, right? It's totally not common. So that's another thing to note. So which is why in Singapore you don't get people to eat supper.
So how about, so these are like small time scales. How about larger time scales, like geological time? So
Well,
do you ever know, like for example, why a certain fossil they would know that it's like 300,000 years old or whatever?
so the short answer is called radiocarbon. So radiocarbon dating works by your isotope will decay into certain thing half of the time.
What's an isotope?
Uh, it's essentially an element that have different configuration. That's how I would say using computer people term. So the configuration here is like the number of neutron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because an element like carbon, right?
Yeah, is
An
14
element.
proton. Is 14 proton, and generally is 14 neutron or so. But some carbon had lesser or more carbon. I don't remember. So carbon dating. So what happened is carbon dating. I show you what carbon dating does is what radioisotope dating does is they actually try to see how many of such isotope left in a fossil or whatnot to get how much things did how long this thing lasts, right? Carbon dating is very cool because we constantly absorb carbon. We are carbon-based life form.
Mm-hmm.
So for the things that we eat.
Yes. So and as a result, we don't get our number of carbon will only get renewed every time.
So we
Carbon,
don't produce carbon ourselves. It just gets absorbed.
it's recycled,
Yeah, it's recycled. There's only like a certain number of carbon atoms that we
Correct.
share. Yeah.
So we get it from food and all that lah. So as a result, we get replenished. So as we're alive, we can just assume that we're alive lah.
Mhm.
But when you're dead, or like tree is dead, you don't absorb this thing, right? So your carbon start to decay, but it decay. It got a half life of around few thousand years, 4,000 years.
Mhm.
So by counting that,
What's a half life?
half life
Half
is
life 3.
Confirmed.
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 a half life is essentially okay. I just remember that your element are reduced half of the time,
Yeah,
every few hundred years or
I think
so.
they define it like a certain time when an element will decay such that half of it remains, like
Yeah,
50% of it remains. Like let's say, for example, so carbon 12, right? Isotope of
yeah,
12. If you say it's 4,000 years, then if you have like 10 atoms of carbon
yes,
12, after 4,000 years, there'll be 5 atoms of carbon 12 plus extra atoms of whatever it decayed into. Like what's below carbon?
yes.
I forgot what's below carbon. I don't remember my periodic table. Yeah.
As a result, we are not really scientists. We're software developers. We're not scientists, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is we get less of time by counting, by using some magic way. They use isotopes. They use radioactive testing. Because those things are decays and we.
I think it's similar to how we do with electronic calibration.
Yeah.
So I think they have a reference of a certain thing, certain like the amount of leftovers, the carbon dating.
Yeah.
One reference like a tree stump or some really old documents
Yes.
with a known date of the production. So they use it to do a calibration, something like that, so they can get actually a estimated scale of how it might look like for this kind of for this rate of decay.
Similar to how they do distances with a type 1A supernova as the standard candle.
Correct.
We'll talk about that later. So this is like geological era, and then we'll go to astronomical
Yeah.
distances later,
Yeah,
dates.
but I want to introduce you to a YouTube channel
Okay.
called Eons.
Hmm.
Eons, they had an episode. I lost the episode about how do they know how old is.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it out.
Yeah. So the short answer is carbon can only go certain level. Then you check by uranium, right?
Oh,
Carbon
okay.
up to
Interesting.
5,000 years. So there's multiple way for you to count your date your element, but it's less precise. But you cannot use carbon dating to date something like up to 4 billion years. But the
Yeah,
use that
because
I told,
that's the time when life only started happening, right? Because the Earth
years
was
is
made
when Earth,
4.3 billion.
yeah. So precisely. So I try to find that video, but Eons is a very good channel for that. From
Mhm.
there, they will tell you uh, how they date things. I share it later. Was it?
So, um, how do you know that, let's say, Alpha Centauri is 4.3 light years away? How did
Reference.
astronomers ever know that it was like that? Like they never measured it. We never got there.
Yeah. So what happened? Damn. The short answer is they use reference.
Hmm.
And they use multiple telescope observing at multiple time.
Hmm.
So I use this example from there's this that there's this podcast called Daniel and Jorge Explains the Universe.
Hmm.
I'm going to quote them. Here, episode for that. Uh, our eyes can measure distance because we can see two things at the same time.
Parallax.
Parallax,
Yeah, it's
right?
called parallax.
Correct. Uh, but how do you see parallax for something very far away?
Hmm.
You do that by having a telescope observe the same object at a different time. So you can the
So
telescope
you
is on
mean,
one position at this, then a few months later the Earth move,
oh,
right?
so
Then
it's using the Earth's position around the sun. So if it's like 180 degrees away from the
uh,
sun, so the opposite side, then you start measuring the same object, and then now you have a
correct,
parallax.
correct, correct.
So that's a large like distance, right?
Yes, correct.
Mm.
Also,
But
that is why dates, a correct
Are
date is
important. Yeah.
important.
so
You missed the leap thing, the wrong, like, yeah, you'll have the wrong position in your orbit.
so Daniel and Jorge is also the no, Jorge is the creator of PG Comics. He wrote the book. We have no idea, but their podcast, Daniel and Jorge Explain the Universe, is a very good explanation for that. I try to find the podcast episode,
Hmm.
but the short answer is they actually use parallax.
Hmm.
Explain the universe. How did the moon form? No, I don't hold real. Oh, they got one more episode. Goodness, I didn't realize. Aha. So I'm going to Tai Chi to Daniel on Jorge on this
Okay.
because I'm not a
You
physics.
share the
I'm not
link.
a
I'm gonna
physicist. I'm
All
not a
right.
post it.
Yeah.
physicist. So
So
the short answer is
maybe
yes.
yeah, something. No, yeah, because you're sharing it, so maybe people can take a look at it. I think the Daniel and Jorge can explain this a lot better than we can, right?
Yeah,
With
because
diagrams and those things.
Daniel is actually a physicist in CERN,
Mm.
so he had better. Except I don't actually know the guy, so I shouldn't call him.
CERN is the one that did the LHC, right?
Yep. They study nuclear science,
Mm-hmm.
so particle physics. There's a term for
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah,
I saw you post something on the channel about the secretary problem. It's not related to this right now, but it's because Daniel and Jorge can explain things better.
no. Daniel Jorge focused mostly on the physics,
Yeah.
whereas secretary problem is a mathematical problem.
Is it the same as when? Is it the same problem when you try to find a parking spot, but the problem there is that you don't want to park too far away, but you don't want to also.
Yeah, it's not
Yep.
it's not a dating problem, but it's a what we call an optimal stop problem.
Mm-hmm.
And optimal stop problem is used in many places. What is the
Is to match up
optimal?
resources
Correct.
with people that I mean with the most desirable outcome.
Correct. So what happened is based on the maths, they actually count like what is the best time you should stop finding a house. You should look for 7 house, and if the 7 house looks good enough, you should go for
Yeah,
it.
I need a reference of that. The number 7.
Is
So
it the same as parking as well, right? If you
yes, if you find a parking that is reasonable, they are subjective, right? Try to find a 7 different parking. You should just stop and go through it.
yeah,
In this
don't
case,
don't
Yeah.
push your luck.
If you have the luxury to find to miss out the six periods.
correct. So
parkings.
and so to save time. Okay, so now we go back to time. Optimal stopping problem is like if you get the first one that you really like or serve, that is 1 divided by 1, right?
Mhm.
If we go to the second one, then it's like there's a half time. If you go for the next one, you got half time. Half of the there's half chance the next one will be better, right?
Mhm.
But in this case, you know the first one is not something you like. Then you go to the third one. So you know that the last two are not the one you want. So, but should you move on? Yes, you only have 1 divided by 3 chance. Yeah,
Yeah.
still reasonable. Still reasonable.
So
It's
the
1 divided by 7 or so. Then it's like, yeah, that's a little too much.
No,
Then
I still need a citation of that magical
because
number
I think
7.
the issue is, for example, you're trying to find like the house, right? For
yeah,
like house one is really nice, but I
yeah,
think you can do better. Like you think yourself, I think I can do better. So you try to find house two, and what you're saying is that there's one half chance that house two might be better, but there's also the half chance that house two might be worse.
yeah,
But I guess the issue with stopping problem is that you cannot go back. Once you said no, I'm not going to go for house one, then you cannot go back.
yes,
So you have to you either have to get house two or continue looking for house three. I
But
correct.
think by house seven, so it's you basically said no to from house one to six, and if house seven is still not good enough,
Yep,
then just take it because that's probably probabilistically the best house that you will get
yeah,
to
correct.
the next one.
I think what the algorithm is trying to solve also is the certain houses has more desire. I mean, more people desire certain houses. So how do you distribute these things? Like they similar to the topic that spark our
Mm.
the Tinder thing, where the zero sum game, where they are certain people they try. I mean, people always go to the most desirable one.
Yep,
So there was this experiment as well where people, males and females, because this was a study like some a few years ago, so they were still doing like males and females as for dating. Um, they put numbers on them, and then they just so it's not about attraction or physical attraction, right? It's just about the numbers. It's just that you don't see your own number, but you see everyone else's number. And the idea is you want to go to the person who does not have um, a partner, but you want to be with someone who has the highest number. So basically, and they found out that the tens don't always end up with the tens. They usually would end up with the nine or the eight because they would settle down because they see that the 10 is already with someone else basically. But of course, they can't say
so
anything.
yeah, but you see, optimal stopping problem, specifically the security problem, is assuming it's a one-sided thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
one-sided thing. What you're describing is have nothing to do with secretary problem. It
Mm.
might have a thing about it, because it's a okay. So this is something I keep saying again and again. Yes, we can have a simple-ish solution to choose like what's the probability of getting the right one and all that after you see a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it only works for houses where the houses do not choose people.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't choose for if you had another person across the room. Things get complicated really fast because people make their own choices one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So it
share
works
one.
for houses, for parking spots, for
Yes,
like the thing that goes around sushi places,
yes,
but not for people.
yes.
But why is it a secretary problem?
Because those days mathematicians are sexist as fuck.
Okay.
Which is why it's called which is why it's actually called a best choice problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay. Originally, I want to call it the optimal stopping problem. No, optimal stopping problem describe when you should stop.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary problem describe a solution. It's
Mm.
one optimal stopping theory. There's a whole map behind it. Actually, you should read the book. The book is called Algorithm to Live By.
Algorithms to live by. So
Yes.
you just reduced your life choices to algorithms.
Yeah, no, no. That it's not really algorithm. It's using computer science techniques.
Mm.
And it's not 100%. It's just like optimal.
Do you think we'll have this world in the future when we have so much computing power that everything has an optimal portion that's pre-calculated and we just follow whatever it is?
We probably
It's
have an
optimal.
AI overlord to assign
Yeah.
resources to us.
Mhm.
So that's actually again. I'm going to talk about books. I'm going to. This is actually
Did I trigger swimming right
yeah.
now?
21st. Uh, there's this book by the author of *Sapiens*, Yuval Harari.
Mm-hmm.
His latest book is called the 21 lesson for the 21st century. One of his theorem is this. Uh, one idea of communist state is that they can control your life
Mm-hmm.
with enough data to control life. But those days, the capability of human are not
Governments?
great,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, we had a computing power.
Also,
To,
when
like,
humans' desire is involved and all those conflict interests.
yeah. So what happened is, with new technology, there is way to make us happy, right? I keep quote because I don't believe that. I don't want to believe that. He might be right, but I don't want to believe that. It goes like this, right? Uh, Software had a very good ability now to actually select a mate of your choice. I call it mate, and maybe the better word is called partner. A dating
Mm-hmm.
site will choose some of the. They won't choose you the worst partner. They choose you a slightly above okay partner. Do you agree?
Well, if it's everyone is above average, then something's wrong with the algorithm, right?
Yeah,
Because
correct. So it's almost always you will choose someone that is slightly above you. You won't get the perfect one, but you get someone better than the default one. That's a theory, right?
mm-hmm.
Uh, your shopping site tend to recommend things that you actually want. Their tendency to recommend things that you already want, and you tend to
I
just
think
accept it,
I think the
right?
problem of when people try to associate this kind of assignment to, I mean, as in happiness is actually, I think it's a wrong word to put it. It's more like quality of life
Yes.
or abundance. So everybody wouldn't be starved of anything, but it is freedom of choice as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what his theory is this: when given that a computing ability to allocate resources optimally, and is pretty effective based on things on the internet, uh, there is a possibility that a computer might do a better job that give us happiness, right?
Mhm.
Which is actually a basis of psychopaths, but let's not go there.
Okay.
Psychopaths is anime. So his basis is essentially goes like this. Yes, algorithm will dictate our life, and it already happened. This is basic one of his thesis actually. And his thesis is based on shopping application, friend and dating applications. And this is actually done by using algorithms, big
Mm,
data algorithms and all that.
okay. Well, yeah, it's just a question because our computing power is getting bigger and bigger, and then
Yeah.
we're talking
But
about
algorithm to live
optimistic.
by have nothing to do with that.
Okay.
But I think quantum computing might actually be really nice because they can come up with all the permutation of
No,
possibilities.
it just creates a
Yeah,
larger
Yeah.
computational space, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Correct.
you're able to compute more.
Yes,
So it's
we
like the
can do
application is
quantum.
like about throwing power about it. Maybe they will all throw all that computing power into mining Bitcoin. Maybe. So
Yeah, or probably to
yeah,
power a selfie machine.
yeah.
And that already happened.
A
But
selfie machine that knows like takes three pictures of you from different angles and creates a three-dimensional
Yeah.
map. See.
yeah, but humans have the ability to use the physics engine,
Mhm.
use computing for weird reason, right? I would use a quantum computer to have the best simulation of civilizations.
Mhm.
But currently, I think quantum computing is still too new for us to know what we can do with it yet.
Do you know well? Do you know quantum computing well enough to have a one day have a topic about it?
No, no, no. I tried
Okay.
the library. I tried the library. Still require quite a number of physics concept.
Mhm.
That currently my understanding is like they are like moving gates, messing around with gates. Which is interesting. You want to build a 3D engine like thing, but that's me lah.
Yeah. Do we have more questions for the channel, like
Nope.
from
Yeah,
the
we go
chat?
off topic so fast.
I think we basically overwhelmed them with all the links. I think we have the most links in the chat today.
Yeah, because it start from dates to
Yeah.
carbon dating, which we have no idea about, then to different thing.
Yeah. No,
like that.
you're the only one with an idea about.
Yeah.
So I sure problem. Let me did I paste the secretary problem?
Yep.
You
I
pasted
just
it on before, but it would be good if you paste it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, I think we were supposed to be doing some try out a different thing, right? So maybe people can ask as well, or like maybe people
Yeah.
can tell us. Would you want like a mini workshop? So we're thinking about IPFS.
Yep.
I think swimming is doing something on Django. I think I forgot what you were saying.
Yeah. I don't like Django.
Okay,
yeah, you
so
can talk. No, you an episode where you list down the tools and stuff that you use and whether you
yeah.
how do you rate them?
Well, yeah, okay.
Like,
That's similar to the
Yeah.
technology radar thing.
yeah.
So maybe what we can do. So maybe another idea would be we open up our editor, our preferred editor, and then we list down all of the plugins that we use there. So if I'm using VS Code, all of the VS Code extensions, Sublime Text plugins, Emacs scripts, your dot files. So we can talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we should conclude this current sessions.
Yeah, we just left a lot of things untold, but I think that's
Yeah.
fine. Yes. And I'm not sure what were we talking about again just now?
We were talking about the future episodes, like what we
Yeah.
think.
I mean,
Like
we figure out
future
what to
date.
do. Like, this depends on the question. We can just do it. Not a big problem. I just look at Django, but then
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
So swimming wants to end soon because he's playing Civilization 6
no, I'm doing
Gathering Storm.
shit. Oh
No,
yeah,
you don't have the
Civilization.
DLC?
I downloaded the DLC. It's ready to play and it's Linux compatible.
Yay!
I'm sleepy as hell because I need to wake up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So no DLC for you tonight?
No,
No.
Yeah.
I tried it a little, but I didn't see any disaster yet.
I had a trauma from Beyond Earth. If you
Yeah.
guys remember it,
Yeah, Beyond Earth is
Yeah.
not great.
I think that's the only game that I purposely stay up late to try it out. Then got really disappointed.
Yes,
Oh,
they try to do Alpha Center, but they're not there.
Gathering Storm is like still Civilization 6. It's just
Yeah.
an extra.
Yeah. But be prepared to be disappointed. Some people don't like it. I didn't see enough disaster to to make a judgment.
Mm,
I just played for 15 minutes before you guys started,
Okay.
so I didn't get a chance to try out.
Yeah, I think we should conclude this so
Yeah.
Shimin can try out his game before he sleep. So Okay, goodbye, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Bye. See you next week.
yeah,
Yep.
see you guys next week.
See ya.